Hi, and welcome back to the CD&R Railroad, where I'm going to continue my video on how to, I did this scene here. In my previous videos I talked about static grasses, ground foams, the fusion fiber I use for the first initial ground cover, and I'm just going to continue on about how I got to this point. And you're going to hear me say this a lot. It's your layout. You do it the way you want to do it, and don't worry about what anyone else is going to say about it, because there's always going to be people saying things about things that doesn't look right or whatever, but you do it the way you want to do it. And the supplies that I'm using isn't the brands you have to use. You just get online and there's tons of them out there. This is just so happened to be what I use. So anyway, we'll begin here. I've got this scene pretty well done the way I want it before I start applying these trees. But I just want to go over a little bit about some of the colors that I did end up doing and the type of grasses and ground foams I did use to get to this point. I've used different sizes of the static grasses. There's 2 millimeters and 6 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 12 millimeter, and they're just all different brands or sizes here. And this is one of them too. And I've also used the Woodland Scenics. And so I've seen a lot of articles to where you just need to apply like the 2 millimeter on. Put your glue down, put the 2 millimeter static grass on, come back, spray some more glue, put the next size in. Well, I thought, why not just try to throw a bunch of them sizes all and colors and sizes all together into a container and to my static grass applicator and see what happens. I was pretty well impressed by the way it turned out. I put my 2 and 4 millimeter grasses and even some 6s in there and just applied over this entire area. And I've got this little figure here. I say he's probably about 6 foot tall, and you can kind of see that the grasses are up just about to his knees or so. So that'd be 2.5 feet tall maybe. And I wanted to have some taller grasses in various places, so instead of putting the real tall grass in, I would just do certain little areas, just to kind of highlight those areas a little bit, to where you didn't have to worry about those. But so with that, I then came back in with ground foam of like the some of the light green coarse turf or the burnt grass coarse turf from Woodland Scenic. Again, you don't have to use these brands. These are just what I'm using. There's a lot of them out there. And I would just take some of that, of the coarse turf, and I just kind of sprinkle around after I've had the static grasses on. Maybe, if you'd seen my video in the past, I'd put the coarse turf down before I put the static grass on, so it gives it even a little more of a uneven effect. But then this looks like shrubbery or undergrowth growing on top of the, sticking out above the grasses. You can put down as much as you want, or you don't even have to do this step if you don't want to, but it's what I do. And then this area here, I'm not really going to put any trees on. I have a power plant that is in front of me here, and I was going to put one of these high tension towers on. Don't know if it's the right thing I should do. Don't know if the U.S. government's going to allow me to do this, building this not to code on this hill, but it's my layout, so I'm going to do this. Don't care what anyone else says. This is what I'm going to do. So anyway, if you want to put these, when you're ready to put your trees in, I use a product called, from Scenic Express, or Scenic Express, excuse me. They are called Super trees. And when you get these trees, I buy a great big box of them, and they're like a weed. And you have to go through here and maybe pick off these little leaves that's kind of sticking out here. Some of these, you can just pick them out. And you break them off, and you can get a tree that resembles this. And sometimes they're really crooked. So what you need to do is you put them in glycerin. or you can even do it in the white glue mix, 50-50 mix, but follow the directions on this stuff, and you dip this tree down in it, and it keeps it very flexible to where it doesn't break. See, this hasn't had it yet, so they can kind of break off pretty easy, and you want to dip them in that so they don't do that. And then once you've done that, well, you need to paint the trunks and the tree limbs. So I like to, they will look like this then when you are done. They resemble this, and I just paint the whole thing and stuff. Well, I come in with various shades of flat paint. Don't use the gloss paints because a tree trunk most of the time is not shiny. So I come in with just different shades of the browns and tans here, and just different shades that kind of resemble earth tone or tree tone colors. And I actually use all three of these colors. I'll stick these trees all in a big piece of foam, and I'll spray every one of them. Just stand back about 10-12 inches away, and I'll just spray them all with one color, come back with another color and lightly hit it, and come back with that last color and just hit it in places so it gives it different colors all the way around. It's not just one, because go out and look at a tree, it's not just one solid color. And then also, when you're going to have a bunch of undergrowth here, a lot of times grass really doesn't grow real well underneath a lot of these. So I like to come in on those places that I'm getting ready to plant all the trees at, and come in with like the soil type here, and just kind of sprinkle some of that around in areas that's going to have a little bit more of the undergrowth, and you kind of darken this up just a little bit. You give it like it's a little bit darker, so you don't have that really green look really showing through under the trees. Now, and when I'm ready to, once them trees have dried, when I've painted them with the paint, usually I've done this way ahead of time, and I've got a couple hundred of them made up right now. But I'll take the various colors of ground foam, like the fine or coarse or different ones of green and oranges and reds, and I even do some with the yellows, because I am representing a fall scene. My scene time frame that I'm representing, though, is not late fall. It's getting into the early fall, because I depict a lot of the farm scenes on my layout, so it's time for harvest, so it's not the late fall. But I put that ground foam, I adhere all of that ground foam onto those trees with, you know, like a spray adhesive, like an Elmer's glue. There's different ones of these. This is just what I so happen to have. It was $1 a can on sale at a store, and I just bought up a case of it. So I use that, and I would actually spray it onto the tree. And you spray it onto the tree, and you put your ground foam on, you spray another coat on, put your ground foam on, and you let that dry for a day, and then you then have a tree that is ready to use. So if you're going to plant a tree in here, I just take a screwdriver, a Phillips or an awl or something like that. You can just poke a hole into the scenery, and you plant your tree here. And you can just get it in there. You saw some of that fall off. That's okay, because this is fall and I want leaves to fall off, but not all of it's going to fall off. I just didn't shake it all off that well. But you have a tree here that you can plant. And so once you get a bunch of these trees planted in here, well, you've got an area here that you need to fill in. So you can take these trees and you can actually break off pretty easy little pieces of the limbs and stuff. I mean, they are fragile, but they can take a beating here and there. So you break these little pieces off here, and then what I like to do is I'd have to take a pair of tweezers, and you can either poke some little holes around or whatnot, and I'm not going to do that here, but I would take these little pieces, and you would just stick them up into here wherever they need to go. And that one popped out. but you would just stick them up into the scenery here, and you have a little tree that's starting to grow here. So, and you do that on around and keep doing it all around these places, and you don't have to worry about filling it in with the ground foam if you don't want. You actually have some undergrowth that is growing here. Then when I get all done with that, I do actually take some more of my burnt grass, coarse turf, and I like to take a pair of tweezers with that and just grab a thing of it, and I like to just put it up under here and just start putting it there. And that kind of makes it look like it's got the undergrowth going there, and it kind of covers up maybe some of your holes you've made, or maybe the trunk wasn't painted all the way. It kind of covers that up. And then I like to come back in, because it's fall again, I come back in with red autumn fine, or there's, you've also got the burnt orange tone, but we have a lot of poison ivy that grows around our area, so I like to represent that. So I like to take a little bit of this with the tweezers again, and just kind of apply that onto here, and the leaves turn red in the fall. So that kind of is representing poison ivy. And then to adhere all that down, I just take that 50-50 solution of alcohol water and a 50-50 solution of Elmer's glue or any type of water-based glue and water, combine them all together. I discovered why not do it in one, just put it in one container, all of that solution, shake it up, and then just get one of these spray bottles, and then just spray over the area here, and you can wet it all down to where it will hold down, and that area is pretty well secure then. But that's really all I'm going to talk about here today. So I hope you enjoyed this. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm just sharing some of my ideas to where maybe it will help you. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But I just want to thank you for watching, and have a good day.